Hello everyone, it's Henry or Evie, and today I am here with another Genesis deck for you. Today we are going to be talking about Clown Crew. This deck came out in the most recent set, Blazing Dominion, and it was immediately very, very heavily pointed. However, that was for good reason. Even with its points, it ended up taking 2 of the top 32 slots at the most recent YCS Columbus, and it was able to make top 16. The list that I am playing is different from those lists. However, through testing from me and multiple other people over in the Genesis Discord, we have determined this to be the most optimal. To start things off, we are on 2 copies of Biancaviso. 3 gets a little bit too cloggy, and if you know how to play your grind games right, the third shouldn't be coming up. 3 copies of Clown Crew Flare, as she is your combo starter. 2 copies of Clown Crew Malabrisme, which is at 10 points. If it wasn't for being 10 points, you would most definitely play 3. 1 copy of Clown Crew Matinee Operatics, which is at 20 points, but I believe you only play 1 of this anyway. 2 copies of Clown Crew Soiree Operations. The reason you play 2 of this is because the second one comes up in the grind game. The list that topped the YCS played 3, however, that again was clogging hands too much. 3 copies of Clown Crew Rehearsal. This card is great. It searches you for 2 of your Clown Crew cards, one of them always being Biancaviso. The only downside is that you do have to have a Biancaviso in deck in order to activate this. 1 copy of Clown Crew New Face in order to have recursion and grind game. Then for consistency, we play 2 copies of Preparation of Rites, as this gets you to Flare, which does combo start you, as well as 2 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. Manju might seem counterintuitive because it uses your normal summon. However, there is a 1-card combo that I will show you later that you can start off of Manju and get all of your interactions set up. Then we play 2 copies of Fluanderies and Snow. This card is very, very good in this deck. I will showcase a combo later showing you what you do when you open Snell, but this card giving you extra normal summons, giving you piercing battle damage, and most importantly, being a walking Book of Eclipse that you can summon on the opponent's turn with Biancaviso effect or end with it on your board is super, super strong and super, super game winning. Next, we play a fairy package. We play 3 copies of Ava, 3 copies of Herald of Greenlight, 3 copies of Herald of Orange Light, 2 Keldo the Sacred Protector, and 2 Medora the Sword Oracle. These cards are crazy. The shufflers desperately need more points on them. Ava needs more points on it. The heralds themselves, I actually don't believe need points. But while this package is so cheap, we're definitely going to be taking advantage of it because we draw so many cards that we're basically guaranteed to see the package. Next, we play 2 copies of Dark Lord Google. It triggers when it's sent to the graveyard in any way to search for a Forbidden Quick Play spell, which we play Forbidden Crown in this slot. I will go over the other options that you can play later and to discuss why we chose Crown over those. But Google is really good. You can trigger it off of discarding it off of Flare. You can trigger it off of tributing it for Rehearsal. And it's a level 6, so you can tribute summon it over your cards that you summon off of Malabrisme, Matinee, etc. for less dead hands. But also on top of that as well, it is a fairy that you can discard for the Heralds and get card advantage off of. And then we play 1 Karikara Divincarnate in order to 1, it's a fairy, 2, it's a board breaker, and it's free. Then we play 2 copies of Dominus Purge. I will go over other options you can play in this slot later, and 1 copy of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit for our remaining 4 points. Next, we have our side deck where we play 3 copies of Clear Vicious Knight. This card is actually like skill drain on legs. It says that it gains attack equal to the highest attack monster. Highest attack among the monsters your opponent controls, your choice if tied. And then while this tribute summoned card is in the monster zone, your opponent cannot activate the effects of special summoned monsters on the field with less attack than this card. So you summon this, you slap it down on the board, your opponent can't activate monster effects on the field with attack lower than it if they are special summoned. There are other floodgates you can play. I will go over one of them later, specifically Gravity Collapse. And why this is a better option than Gravity Collapse. Next, we play Kaiju package of 2 Santa Claus and 1 Dogoran. The reason that Dogoran is our choice of Kaiju here is because it has the lowest defense for when we book it with Flare, and then attack over it with Bianca Viso for double piercing for game reasons. 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. 1, it's a fairy. 2, it floodgates a couple of the top decks out of the format. It's pretty important. 3 copies of Twin Twisters for back row removal, and 3 copies of Shared Ride for even more deep draw than what we already have, also being a quick play spell that we are able to set in the end phase off of Many Operatics when we draw it. Next, in our extra deck, we play 3 copies of each of the Clown Crew extra deck names. And then we play 1 Xyz Armor Fortress, as you can put this on top of a Clown Crew Fiends you control in order to attack over some stuff in some very niche scenarios. 1 Utopic Future Zexal. Again, it's something that you can make with 2 copies of Fiends in some scenarios where you need to protect yourself from targeting or you need to battle into things. 1 Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, in order to help you going second. Your 4s are stuff like Keldo, which summons itself from the hand, and then like a normal summon like Manju. 1 Valon, the Super Psy Sky Blaster. You make this card with 2 copies of Clan Crew Diablo, which, because they are both 2 cards of the same name, can't be super polyed off into Garura. Overlay into Valon, and then tribute over the Valon with Bianca Viso, triggering the Valon's graveyard effect to pop a set spell trap your opponent controls, and in situations where you're against a deck like Predaplant or a deck like Fairy Tale, which are searching super poly, this is a very good way of outing them. 1 Goblin's Crazy Beast. This is here because it is able to revive itself for free once per duel. And then once per turn, you can target 1 spell trap on the field, detach 2 materials from any monster on the field, and if you do attach that target to this card as material, it's very useful against some Xyz decks in the format in order to get materials off of their cards. And then we put 5 points into Nerva, the Power Patron of Creation. This card is very important for a couple of combos, or like one of the combos that I will go over later. And it's also helpful in stuff like the Mimighoul matchup in order to out the cards that they put face down on your board, so that way you are not locked by the effect of Mimighoul Dungeon from normal summoning your Bianca Viso. A couple of tech options that you can play in this deck that we don't are things that I'm about to go over. For example, the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode. You could play Sphere Mode if you wanted to. It is a very good breaker. You're able to normal summon it on your opponent's turn to their field using the effect of Bianca Viso. The issue is it does use your normal summon, and so some hands can't play without your normal summon, and so if you open this plus a hand that can't play without your normal summon, you can't summon this to your opponent's field without throwing away your combo, and that is really, really devastating. Next is Thestalos the Shadowfire Monarch. It's again going to be the same issue where it uses your normal summon, which does blow, but you are able to, again, summon this on the opponent's turn using Bianca Viso's effect, tributing itself and a monster your opponent controls, and then it allows you to banish a random card from their hand. So you get a hand rip, you get monster removal. It's not the worst, it's just that I feel you don't need to dedicate to multiple tributable guys And so Snell takes up the slot that Thestalos would be taking in my mind. Next, I would like to talk about Sinful Spoils of Subdual. This card is really good in this deck. It lets you take one level 5 or higher illusion monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special it. But if you special it, you cannot activate its effects during the main phase this turn. That doesn't matter because you're already locked out of using the effects of monsters special summoned from the deck anyway. And so you have three very important targets in this format. First of all is Bianca Viso. Bianca Viso is a level 5 or higher illusion that you can add to your hand off of this card. Next is Hekahan's Godos, which you can add to your hand, which is a hand trap. If a card is added to your opponent's hand, it can special summon itself. And then from there, during your opponent's main phase, you can target a monster in their graveyard to summon it to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. So it helps you with disruption. However, the issue with Godos is we're already playing the Shufflers, so we already have quite a bit of graveyard disruption. And finally, the other important target is Diabel's the Original Sinkeeper. You can special this off of the effect of the Sinful Spoils Subdual, and your opponent, she's basically anti-spell, but your opponent can activate them that turn. And so this floodgates out certain decks like Radiant Typhoon, for example, and kind of stops them from playing. But the issue that I have is while Subdual is super flexible, one, we're already playing other cards that do the jobs of the cards that it searches, but two, it also just feels really slow as a Bianca Viso searcher, and so I'm not really a fan of that. Next, the other cards that we considered Forbidden Chalice, because this is only 5 points, while Crown is 10 points. So originally I was a lineup of 1 Googleay and 2 Chalice, and I ended up swapping this for 1 Crown, 2 Googleay, because Crown just does that much more in the format, and being able to make something unable to be destroyed by battle that has a really small defense value whilst it's in defense mode, and then attacking into it multiple times with Diabolo is very, very strong and game ending. Another thing someone else was testing was they were playing Forbidden Droplet. If I could spell. They were playing Forbidden Droplet. I personally am not a fan of Droplet because I don't like losing card advantage in a deck that's already using a lot of its card advantage for discarding with the Heralds. Next is Spellcard Soul Exchange. Now, you might go, hey, we're playing a Tribute Summon deck. Spellcard Soul Exchange, super, super good in Tribute Summoning decks, which is true. It has done so much for a deck like Monarch, for example, to the point that it got pointed because of how much it was doing for Monarch. However, here, you're not tributing your own clowns, and so because you're not tributing your clowns, you're not getting as much advantage off it as you might like, where I think it's not worth the 3 points. And next is Dominus Spark. So now, as you see here, we are playing Dominus Purge, and Dominus Spark is the same amount of points, being 10 points. And yes, this deck actually completely plays under Dominus Spark, and it's really, really good in this deck. However, we are opting to play the Shufflers here, and so because we are playing the Shufflers, I don't like Spark that much, because Spark takes away from your ability to use the Shufflers, and I am not a personal fan of that, and so I choose to play Purge over Spark here, but both are very valid options. Next, I would like to discuss combo routes with this deck. So I'm going to start you off with the 1-card combo off of Flare, which is Flare plus any discard, in which you are going to activate Flare effect. Flare is going to get you Rehearsal. You're going to discard any card. You're going to activate Rehearsal, tributing the Flare, in order to grab Malabarisme and Bianca Viso. You're then going to activate Malabarisme in order to summon Fiends and Diabolo. You're then going to tribute summon Biancaviso over these 2 cards, and you are going to draw 2 off of Biancaviso. You're then going to set Matinee Operatrix and Soiree Operations. Activate the Matinee and then use Matinee Effect in order to summon Clown Crew Meteor. You need to summon Meteor here usually, but if you already know what your opponent's playing, if they're playing an Xyz deck, if they're playing a Fusion deck, if they're playing a Synchro deck, or if they're playing a Ritual deck, you can make adaptation based on what you summon from there. And then you're going to proceed to your end phase. You're going to use the effect of Matinee in order to draw 3 cards here as you attributed 3 different types of monsters. Now, on your opponent's turn, you can activate Soiree in order to add your second copy of Biancaviso. And then you can use Biancaviso's effect, and you have 2 options as to what you do here. You can either tribute your 1 monster here in order to summon the Biancaviso to trigger the tribute effect and either get 1 draw or negate 1 card with Biancaviso, or you can do this, where you summon Biancaviso, tribute both Meteor and your other Biancaviso, chainlink 1 Biancaviso to draw, chainlink 2 Meteor targeting the Biancaviso in your graveyard. Now you get 2 more draws, and you get follow-up back in your hand in the form of Biancaviso, allowing you to play off of the, how many cards is this? 7 cards that you've drawn over the past 2 turns, on top of the original 4 or 3 additional cards that you had from your starting hand. So that's 10 cards you get to play with, and you get to have follow-up, and you get to draw an additional card in your end phase. It's super, super strong. Next, we are going to go over the 1-card Manju line. So Manju plus a discard, it does this here. I have 2 cards in my hand here. Ignore that. You only need 1 discard. So you're going to start with normal summoning Manju. Manju is going to add Clown Crew Flare. You're then going to use Flare effect in order to add Malabarisme here instead of Rehearsal, discarding any card. You then get to use Malabarisme effect in order to summon Fiends from your extra deck, and from your deck summoning Biancaviso, because this summons any Clown Crew monsters from deck or extra, and it doesn't specify that it has to be a ritual or whatever. So you get to summon Biancaviso, and now you have a Fairy, an Illusion, and a Beast Warrior on your board, so you tribute these 3 cards off for Nerva. This will trigger Fiends in order to set Rehearsal face down. So now Rehearsal here, you can either tribute your Nerva or tribute your an additional monster from your hand, as long as you're not tributing the Flare here. We're going to tribute the Nerva in order to grab Matinee and Biancaviso. And we are then going to activate the effect of Matinee. Matinee is then going to summon Diabolo, and then you're going to activate the effect of Rehearsal, tributing the Diabolo in order to summon the Flare. This is going to trigger Diabolo in order to set Soiree Operations, and you're going to pass. Now, from here, you get to draw 3 cards off of Matinee, because you have tributed, or sorry, it's 2 cards off of Matinee, I'm sorry. You have to draw 2 cards off of Matinee because you've tributed 2 different types. And now on your opponent's turn, you get to use Soiree in order to summon 2. Being specifically, you need to summon Meteor, and then whatever the additional type that your opponent plays is, be it Xyz, etc. Then you can use the graveyard effect of Soiree in order to tribute Meteor and either Flare for a Book of Moon or the additional type to shuffle back cards. And then you can trigger Meteor, trigger Flare, and trigger Biancaviso to draw here. You get to draw 2 more cards off of the Biancaviso, putting you at 4 draws so far. And then you get to add back the Biancaviso that you tributed last turn with Nerva off of the effect of Meteor, which then allows you to use Biancaviso effect in order to additional normal the Biancaviso over your 1 or 2 monsters. If you need to negate 2 cards, you tribute over both. If you only need to negate 1 card, you tribute over just the 1, and you get either, as I stated earlier, the Book of Moon or Shuffle back of your choice. And finally, oops, I did not load this replay correctly. My apologies. Let me fix this. So here we are going to look at the Fluanderies and Snell line. So now this is going to be if you open Snell with any of your combo pieces into Malabarisme, we're just going to say we started with Malabarisme here. So you're going to activate Malabarisme in order to summon Diabolo and Fiends as per usual, and then you're going to tribute summon the Snell over the Fiends and the Diabolo. You're then going to get to set Rehearsal in this case and Soiree, and then you're going to activate Rehearsal, which is going to tribute any monster from your hand in order to add Biancaviso and Matinee Operations. Or operatics, sorry. You then get to declare Snell in order to gain 3 normal summons. So you can conduct up to 3 normal summons this turn, not just 1. So you will then get to activate Matinee in order to summon Meteor. And then you can tribute summon Biancaviso over that Meteor, chainlink 1 Meteor in order to add Malabarisme, and chainlink 2 Biancaviso to draw a card. You proceed to the end phase, you get 3 cards to your hand, and it's sort of just the same thing from here on the opponent's turn as in the previous replays. Next up, I would like to go over some games, as I am presently rank number 2 on the Dueling Book ladder. I have a lot of games logged with this deck, as well as the other decks that I showcase on this channel. I put time into all of them, and here we are going to showcase 2 matches. The first match we are going to showcase is versus 60 card Zombie Pile, in which we are going to be going second in game 1. We've opened a hand of Orange Light, Ava, Snell, Biancaviso, and Flare. Not the most ideal going second opener, but we do have Orange Light. We are going to start this off with They're going to start off with Stare of the Snakehair, in which I am going to Orange Light that, pitching the Ava, and I'm going to use Ava Effect in order to add another Orange Light to hand. I'm now out of Disruption. My opponent is going to show me a normal summon of Dark Necromancer in order to dump Revenged Slayer and get into Revenged Evolution, which they are then going to activate, and I am going to proceed to scoop here, as I don't really know what these cards do, and I didn't want to learn what they did either and read them, so I decided to just go into the next game. Game 2 is going to begin. We are going to open a hand of Clan Crew Flare, Preparation of Rites, Biancaviso, Manju, and Ava. So we do have 2 Light Fairies here, which isn't bad. We are going to Preparations for a Flare, looking for any sort of disruption onto the Preparations, because we're not worried about Droll. And then we're going to activate the effect of Flare. Flare is going to get us Rehearsal, and we are going to do the usual combo from here. We're going to discard the Manju, tribute a Flare in order to add Malabarisme and Biancaviso, activate Malabarisme, summon Diabolo, summon Fiends, tribute over them for Biancaviso, getting 2 draws in the process. The cards we are going to draw into are Shared Ride and Soiree Operations. This is going to allow us to divert off of setting the Soiree into setting New Face and Matinee, and then we're going to activate the Matinee. Matinee is then going to summon Meteor, and now because we have another copy of Flare in our hand, we get to activate the Graveyard effect of Rehearsal, tributing Meteor in order to summon Flare. Meteor is then going to get to add back Malabarisme. We're then going to set the Soiree, set the Malabarisme, set the Shared Ride, not the Malabarisme, and proceed to the end phase. We're going to draw 4 here because we attributed 4 different types, and we are going to set the Malabarisme off the end phase effect of Matinee. And in our hand, we have a green light, we have an orange light, we have Flaunderies and Snout. We kind of have everything we've ever wanted. We are going to New Face and Standby in order to draw another card as well, drawing into another copy of green light. Our opponent's going to start off with Stare of the Snakehair. We are going to change Shared Ride here, allowing the Stare to resolve, letting them add Ectoplasmic Fortification. This is going to give us a draw in which we're going to draw into another Ava. They're going to activate Ectoplasmic. We are going to chain Greenlight, pitching Ava. Ava is then going to get us a orange light and another green light into our hand by banishing 2 light fairies other than itself. They're going to normal summon Gozuki. We're going to orange light that, pitching another Ava. Gozuki is going to activate, banishing from their graveyard a zombie in order to summon a zombie from their hand, summoning Changshi the Spiradio. They're then going to activate Changshi and admit defeat, as they do not have a way to come back in this game, and we have too many card advantage. Here I ask if there's anything that protects Call of the Haunted from being destroyed. They talk a little bit about wanting heralds to be pointed, and we proceed on. I draw a hand of Clan Crew Flare, Forbidden Chalice, Twin Twisters, Dominus Purge, and Artifact Lancia. They're going to start with Gozuki. Gozuki is going to send a copy of Glow Up Bloom. Glow Up Bloom is then going to trigger banishing itself as cost, in which we are going to change Dominus Purge. This is going to result in them passing turn, and we're going to top deck a Bianca Viso. From this point, we're going to flare, and we're just going to do a combo. We're going to add Malabarisme, discarding the flare, activate Malabarisme, and the reason we didn't go through rehearsal here is because we don't exactly want to get rid of any of these cards just yet by attributing. We are going to normal summon over the Bianca Viso. We're going to Chainlink 1 Fiends, Chainlink 2 Diablo, Chainlink 3 Bianca Viso. Bianca Viso is going to draw us into another copy of Rehearsal and a Medora the Sword Oracle. We're going to set Matinee, set Soiree. We're going to activate Matinee in order to summon a copy of Meteor. We're then going to activate Rehearsal, tributing that Meteor in order to add New Face and another Bianca Viso to our hand. We're then going to get to Meteor. Meteor is going to add back the Malabarisme here. We're going to proceed to the battle phase, attack over the Gozuki, and then we're going to set New Face, set Malabarisme, and then in the end phase use Soiree to draw cards, and we are going to choose to set the Twin Twisters instead of the Forbidden Chalice here, and we're going to discard for hand size the Medora the Sword Oracle. Our opponent is going to see us discard the Medora and end up scooping, as they are just not able to beat that. In the next game, we are going to be going first this time, and we are going to be playing, what were we playing against again? Yes, that's right, Azamina. So we are going to be playing against Azamina. I'm going to start with a preparation of rights. We're going to grab Clan Crew Flare. Flare is then going to activate, and we're just going to combo here. We're going to add Rehearsal. We're going to activate Malabarisme in order to summon Meteor and Fiends, and then activate Rehearsal, tributing Fiends. We're going to add Soiree, add Bianca Viso, trigger Fiends in order to set Matinee. Matinee is then going to activate in order to summon Diablo, and then we're going to Rehearsal, tributing the Diablo in order to set New Face and summon Flare. We're then going to null summon the Bianca Viso over the Flare and over the Meteor, in which we're going to declare all three. We're going to shuffle back our flares, we're going to add back to hand Malabarisme, and we're going to draw 2, which will get us 2 orange lights. We're then going to activate Matinee in the end phase in order to draw 4 and set this copy of Forbidden Chalice, whilst discarding a Manju. In the standby phase, we are going to get an additional draw off of New Face here, which is going to draw us into an Ava. They're going to start Filia Diabel, summoning Diabel's the White Witch. They're going to chain Orange Light. I'm going to chain Orange Light. I'm going to discard the Ava with it. They're going to change Azamina Debtors in order to fusion summon, and I'm going to chain Green Light, discarding a Shuffler. This is going to prompt them to concede, as we just are way too far ahead at this point in advantage. Game 2, we're going to be going second. Our hand is Dominus Purge, Clan Crew Flare, Rehearsal, Manju, and Forbidden Chalice. Our opponent is going to start with White Witch, pitching Curse of Diabel. They're going to activate White Witch, activate Curse of Diabel, Chainlink 2, which I am going to Dominus Purge that. They're going to dump to the graveyard, Diabel Star Vengeance, set 3 cards, and pass. I'm going to start off with Clan Crew Flare, adding Malabarisme, and pitching Manju. I'm going to activate Malabarisme. I'm going to, once again, summon Meteor, summon Fiends. They're going to think on res here and not do anything. I'm going to activate Rehearsal. Rehearsal is going to tribute the Fiends in order to add Bianca Viso and Soiree. We're then going to activate Fiends. We're going to set a copy of Matinee, and we're going to activate Matinee. On the activation of Matinee, they're going to activate Azamina Determination in order to shuffle back the Deval Star Vengeance and summon Azamina Soul Arisithion, I think is how you pronounce this. I'm not sure. Azamina Soul is then going to get to pop a card on the field because it was fusion summoned, popping the Matinee. I'm going to chain Chalice, attempting to negate it, and they're going to chain Sinful Spoils of Slumber Morian in order to book their monster and prevent it from being negated. My Matinee will get destroyed. I am then going to activate Rehearsal, tributing Meteor in order to summon Flare, and then activating Meteor in order to add back the Matinee. I'm then going to activate Matinee, and my opponent realizes that I'm going to be way too far ahead for them to actually do anything, and they end up scooping up the game. Overall, I think that Clown Crew is a very, very strong deck in the format. A lot of people I don't think are playing the deck correct. I think that playing it with these fairy cards is the strongest way of doing so, as they just add so much layering to your hands that isn't normally there. This deck greatly struggles going second, and so being able to draw into the orange lights, the shufflers, etc., when you are going to second is such a strength that the deck doesn't normally have. I think that if you're not playing with the fairy cards, there's definitely ways you can do so, but I think that the most optimal build is to play it like this. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, and as always, have a great one, everyone.